Hello, this is learnwithjoes. I'm continuing today the teaching on religion and science, but specifically on the concord between religion and science. And I'm starting something new, maybe on Friday, inviting guest speakers on this channel that you will enjoy. Once in a while, I bring some people who are going to share with you their wealth of knowledge and skills. Stay tuned at all times. I'm Dr. Josephine. Religion and science, as we all know, they have concord areas and they have conflict areas. And sometimes there's a disagreement between religion and science, and sometimes there's an agreement between religion and science. Talking about concord specifically, the relationship between religion and science is very complex and involving discourse that has varied throughout history and across different cultural and philosophical contexts. Concord refers to a state of agreement, harmony, or compatibility. Achieving concord between religion and science involves finding ways these two realms can coexist or complement each other without conflict. Here, I'm discussing or exploring the potential of concord between religion and science. Let me start with the complementary truths. One way to see concord is by viewing science and religion as addressing different aspects of reality. Science often focuses on the how and what questions, explaining natural phenomena and processes, while religion often addresses the why questions, exploring meaning, purpose, and ethical principles. Let's look at the metaphorical interpretation. Some religious interpretations view sacred texts or narratives metaphorically, allowing for symbolic or metaphorical interpretations. And this particular approach allows room for scientific understanding while preserving religious meanings and teachings. Non-overlapping magisterial, what we can refer to as norma. The concept proposed by Stephen Jay Gould suggests that science and religion have separate domains of authority and focus. But science, according to him, deals with empirical observations and the natural world, while religion deals with moral, ethical, and existential questions, which we can even term as supernatural. Integration of scientific understanding. Many religious believers integrate scientific knowledge into their worldview, viewing scientific discoveries as a way to deepen their understanding of creation and the natural world. They see science as unveiling the mechanisms through which a divine creator operates, a designer operates. Dialogue and innovative efforts. Encouraging dialogue between religious and scientific common understanding and appreciation for each other's perspectives. When you want to encourage dialogue between religion, and science. Interfaith initiatives often seek to find common ground and promote harmony by exploring shared values and goals. Ethics and morality. Religion often provides ethical frameworks and moral guidelines. Science can contribute empirical evidence and reasoning to inform ethical decisions, creating a symbiotic, some people say symbiotic, depending on which area you belong to and the kind of diction or pronunciation you're used to. Creating a symbiotic relationship between the moral teachings of religion and the empirical understanding provided by science. How about environmental stewardship? Both religion and science increasingly emphasize the importance of environmental conservation and responsible stewardship of the earth. I remember clearly when I was teaching environmental philosophy of religion, I mentioned this stewardship of the earth, how we are created to take care, and that human beings are not the only one living on the earth. We have all other things too, created by same God. So both science and religion, they are actually create this, emphasize the importance of environment conservation and responsible stewardship of the earth. Religious teachings often advocate for the care of creation, aligning with scientific concerns about environmental sustainability. Look at the climate, the ozone layer, the climate change, all those areas. I think ethics and morality, I think I mentioned ethics and morality, Shirley, because religion often provides ethical frameworks and moral guidelines. Now, let's look at bioethics and medical ethics. The intersection of religion and science is prominent in bioethics and medical ethics, where religious beliefs and values play a role in guiding ethical decisions related to medical advancements. Like we are talking about the genetics, we are talking about healthcare practices. Historical and cultural context. Recognizing the historical and cultural context of religious texts and beliefs aid in understanding the intent and message behind them. This contextual understanding can help reconcile conflicts between scientific discoveries and ancient religious texts, personal belief and worldview. Ultimately, achieving concord between religion and science can also be a matter of individual belief and worldview. Many individuals navigate their own beliefs by integrating scientific understanding with their spiritual and religious convictions in a way that makes sense to them. While achieving perfect concord between religion and science can be challenging to the various kind of methodologies and foundational assumptions, recognizing their potential complementarity, common ground allows for a more inclusive and harmonious dialogue. So respect, understanding, and open-mindedness are crucial, critical, germane in fostering a constructive relationship between these two domains. the earlier pioneers and heroes of modern Western science, Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, Newton, Boyle, and so on, were all serious Christians. So if occasionally, as with Newton, Christologically unorthodox, furthermore, many, according to Foster, 1934, 1935, 1936, and Rash, 2009, have pointed out that theistic belief and empirical science display a deep concord. And because of that deep concord, they fit together neatly. I think you understand what I'm saying here. These are people, when we say theistic, that is, those that believe in God from the religion point of view and empirical science, display a deep concord and fit together neatly. This is in part a result of the doctrines of creation embraced by theistic religions. In particular, two aspects of these doctrines. First, there is the thought that God has created the world and has, of course, therefore, also created human beings. Furthermore, he has created human beings in his image and likeness. God, according to theistic belief, is a person, a being who knows affection, likes and dislikes. And that's one of the communicable attributes that we human beings get from our Creator. An executive will, and who can act on his beliefs to achieve his ends. That is, God has an executive will and can act on his beliefs to achieve his end. One of the chief features of the divine image in human beings then is the ability to form beliefs and acquire knowledge. And as Thomas Aquinas puts it, since human beings are said to be the image of God, in virtue of their having a nature that includes an intellect, such a nature is most in the image of God in virtue of being most able to imitate God. You now wonder the kind of things human beings are creating out of this. Look at the AI, which is now really, really spiraling and being used for various things. God has therefore created both us and the world and arranged for the former to know the thinking of science at most basic level as the project of acquiring knowledge. Of course, the world, it is clear. Let's put it this way so that we understand exactly what I'm saying. The knowledge of ourselves and our world, it is clear from the perspective that the doctrine of Imago Dei underwrites this project. Indeed, the pursuit of science is a clear example of the development and enhancement of the image of God in human beings, both individually and collectively. You can see the wonders some doctors are doing nowadays in surgical operations, in all those kind of things. Is that thing that human beings have acquired from being in the image of God. Second, there is the thought that divine creation is contingent. And according to theism, many of God's properties, his omniscience, his omnipotence, his goodness, his all-knowing, his love, are essential to God. God has them in every possible world in which he exists. And since, according to most theistic thoughts, God is a necessary being, one that exists in every possible world. He has those properties in every possible world. Not so, however, with his property of creating. He isn't obliged by his nature, anything else, to create the world. It is instead a free action on the part of God. And that's why the Bible tells us in Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, has no beginning. It says in the beginning. They didn't say from the beginning or at the beginning. No, in the beginning. Furthermore, given that God does create, God isn't obliged to do so in any particular way or to create any particular kinds of things that he has created. The kinds of things we find is again contingent, a free action on God's part. So it is this doctrine of the contingency of divine creation that underwrites the empirical character of modern Western science, according to Rashi 2009. The realm of the necessary is, for most part, the realm of a priori knowledge. Here we have mathematics and logic and much philosophy. What is contingent on the one hand, on the other hand, is the domain or realm of a posteriori knowledge, the sort of knowledge produced by perception, memory, and the empirical methods of science. So this relationship between the contingency of creation and the importance of empirical was recognized very early. Thus, Roger quotes from the preface he wrote to Newton's Principia Mathematica. Without all doubt, this world, so diversified with the variety of forms and motions we find in it, could arise not from nothing, but the perfect will of God, directing and presiding over it, an intelligent designer. From this fountain, it is that those laws, which we call the laws of nature, are flowed, in which there appear many traces of the wisest contrivance, but not the slightest shadow of necessity. Therefore, we must not seek uncertain conjectures, but learn them from observations and experiments, according to Coates, 1953, 192 to 33, the pages. Emphasis is mine anyway. What we've just seen is that, in a certain way, theistic belief supports modern science by licensing or endorsing the old project of empirical investigation. It is also sometimes claimed that science supports theistic belief. Here, several arguments have historically fallen into two basic types: biological and cosmological. An example of the first type is the argument proposed by Michael Ph.D. 1996, according to which some structures of the molecular level exhibit irreducible complexity. These systems display severally finely matched interacting parts, all of which must be present and working correctly for the system to do what it does. That is, removing any part will preclude the things functioning. So among the phenomena, BE cites at the site at the bacteria flagellum, the cilia employed by several kinds of cells for locomotion and other functions, like the blood clotting, the immune system, the transport of materials within cells, and the incredibly complex cascade of biochemical reactions and events that occur in vision. Such irreducibly complex structures and phenomena, he argues, can't have come to be by gradual, step-by-step Darwinian evolution. The Big Bang Theory, Darwinian evolution, unguided by the hand of God or any other person. Attenuate the probability that they should do so is vanishingly small, very tight, very micro. They therefore present what he calls a Lilliputian challenge to unguided Darwinism. If it's right, they present it with gargantuan challenge as well. Not only do they challenge Darwinism, but they are also, he says, obviously designed. Their design is about as apparent as the elephants in the living room. To a person who does not feel obliged to restrict his research to unintelligent causes, the straightforward conclusion is that many biochemical systems were designed, according to B.E., page 193. Others, for example, Paul Draper, 2002, and Kenneth Miller, 1999, 130 to 64, argue that B.E. has not proved his case. That is their own thinking, that B.E. has not proved his case. A second type of argument for theism starts from the apparent fine-tuning of several physical parameters, starting in the late 60s and early 70s. Astrophysicists and others noted that several of the fundamental physical constants must fall within very narrow limits if there's to be development of intelligent life. Attenuate, in a way, anything like how we think it happened. Thus, B.J. Carr and M.J. Reeves, let me call them, the essential features of galaxies, stars, planets, and the everyday world are determined by a few microphysical constraints and by the effects of gravitation. Several aspects of our universe, some of which seem to be prerequisites for the evolution of any form of life, depend delicately on apparent coincidences among the physical constants, according to Carl Rees. For example, if the force of gravity were even slightly more potent, all stars would be blue giants. If even slightly weaker, all would be red dwarfs. In neither case could life have developed. Carter, 1979-72. The same goes for the weak and strong nuclear forces. If either had been even slightly different, at any rate, life of the sort we have could probably not have developed. Life is possible only because the universe is expanding at just the rate required to avoid recollapse. At an early time, the fine-tuning had to be even more remarkable. We know that there has to have been a very close balance between the competing effects of explosive expansion and gravitational contraction, which at every earliest epoch about which we can even pretend to speak, called the Planck time, let's say 10 to 43 seconds, after the Big Bang, will have corresponded to the incredible degree of accuracy represented by deviation into the ratio from unity by only 1 part in 10 to the 60th according to Working On, 1989, page 22. Other examples, the value of the cosmological constant, the vacuum, expectation value of the Higgs field, the ratio of the mass of the proton to the electron must all be fine-tuned to an incredible degree for the universe to be life-permitting, according to Barr, 2003. A particular informed and technically detailed account of some of this fine-tuning is that of the Robin Collins evidence for fine-tuning, Collins, 2003. Many see these apparent enormous coincidences as substantiating the theistic claim that a personal God who intends to have created the universe, be live and indeed intelligent life. They take fine-tuning as offering the material for a properly restrained theistic argument. These arguments take several versions, and perhaps the most successful versions argue that the epistemic probability of this fine-tuning phenomena on theism is much greater than their epistemic probability on the atheistic chance hypothesis. Here, the conclusion is not as such that theism is properly true, but rather that the phenomena much better support theism than the chance hypothesis, according to Swinburne, 2003, and Collins, 1999. Objections come in many varieties anyway. Some who offer these arguments, in particular those associated with the so-called intelligent design movement, take them to be contributions to science rather than philosophy or theology. The most common objection is that they don't meet the conditions for being science, in particular because their conclusion that an intelligent being has designed the universe isn't falsifiable. Others, as we saw above in some of the things I've been saying, reply that falsifiability is ordinarily not a property of individual propositions, but of entire theories, and that theories involving intelligent design can perfectly well be falsifiable. A more exciting objection to fine-tuning arguments is the many universes suggestions that there are very many, even infinitely many different universes or worlds. The cosmological constants take on different values in different worlds, so that very many, perhaps all possible, different sets of such values get exemplified in one world or another. So couldn't there be an internal cycle of big bangs with subsequent expansion to a specific limit and then subsequent contraction to a brink crunch at which the cosmological values are arbitrarily reset? Dennett asked that question in 1995, page 179. Alternatively, could it have been that at the Big Bang, there was enormous initial inflation, resulting in many cosmons with many different settings for the physical constants? In either case, it isn't at all surprising that in one or another of the resulting universes, the values of the cosmological constants are such as to be life-permitting. So nor is it surprising that the universe we find ourselves in as life-permitting values. We couldn't exist elsewhere. If so, the fine-tuning argument is ineffective. The probability of fine-tuning the word suggestion with atheism is at least as significant as fine-tuning theism. So there are responses. For example, that on this account, there will have been a universe generator, which was itself fine-tuned, according to Collins, 1999. Or that even if it is likely that some universe be fine-tuned, nevertheless, the likelihood that this universe be fine-tuned is unaffected by the plurivised suggestion. White, 2003, and responses to the responses, and so on. Not surprisingly, there's no consensus as to whether these fine-tuning arguments are successful or not successful. But the point I'm making here is to let us all see the concord between science and religion. We do indeed have concord between religion and science. Thank you very much. Join me and my guests on Friday. And Tuesday, I will continue with religion and science. Have a very wonderful week. Love you.